The ancient world of the 6th and 5th centuries BCE was dominated by a single, overwhelming power. The Persian Empire, founded by Cyrus the Great, had grown faster and farther than any empire before it. From Central Asia to Egypt, from the Indus River to the Aegean Sea, Persia ruled over countless peoples, cultures, languages, and religions. What made this empire unique was not only its size, but its method of rule. Persian kings allowed subject peoples to keep their traditions, worship their gods, and govern local affairs, so long as they paid taxes and remained loyal to the great king. After Cyrus came Cambyses, who conquered Egypt, and then Darius I, known as Darius the Great. Darius transformed Persia into a highly organized imperial system. He divided the empire into satrapies, built an advanced taxation system, introduced a standardized currency, and constructed the royal road, allowing messages to travel across thousands of kilometers in days. By the late 6th century BCE, Persia was not just powerful, it was unstoppable. As the empire expanded westward, it absorbed the Greek cities of Asia Minor, located along the coast of modern-day Turkey. These cities, such as Miletus, Ephesus, and Sardis, were culturally Greek but politically subject to Persia. Although Persia allowed them internal freedom, the Greeks deeply resented foreign rule. They had a long tradition of independence, debate, and civic identity, especially in mainland Greece where city-states like Athens, Sparta, Corinth, and Thebes fiercely guarded their autonomy. Tension slowly built between Persian imperial authority and Greek ideals of freedom. This tension finally exploded in 499 BCE when the Ionian Greek cities rebelled against Persian rule. The revolt was sparked by local grievances, but quickly became a symbolic struggle for independence. The rebels sought help from mainland Greece. Most city-states refused, unwilling to challenge Persia. Athens and Eretria, however, sent ships and soldiers. This decision would change history. The Ionian rebels marched inland and burned Sardis, a Persian administrative center. Although the rebellion was eventually crushed by Persian forces, the damage was done. Darius never forgot that Athens had dared to interfere in Persian affairs. According to ancient sources, he ordered a servant to remind him every day, "Master, remember the Athenians." What began as a regional rebellion became a personal vendetta and later, a full-scale war. Darius's first attempt to punish Greece came in 492 BCE, but a storm destroyed much of the Persian fleet near Mount Athos. 2 years later, Persia launched a massive invasion force across the Aegean Sea. In 490 BCE, Persian troops landed at Marathon, a plain near Athens. The Persian army was vast, professional, and experienced. The Athenians, by contrast, were citizen soldiers, farmers, craftsmen, and merchants who took up arms to defend their city. Against all expectations, the Athenians chose to attack. Led by the general Miltiades, the Greek hoplites charged the Persian lines. Their heavy armor, discipline, and tactics overwhelmed the lightly armed Persian infantry. The Persian army was decisively defeated and forced to retreat. The Battle of Marathon was more than a military victory. It was a psychological turning point. It proved that Persia could be beaten and that free citizens fighting for their homeland could defeat imperial forces. Darius died shortly afterward, but his ambition did not. His son, Xerxes I, inherited the throne and vowed to succeed where his father had failed. Xerxes spent years preparing the largest invasion force the ancient world had ever seen. Ancient historians describe an army numbering in the hundreds of thousands, supported by a massive fleet. While modern scholars debate the exact numbers, there is no doubt that the Persian force was enormous. In 480 BCE, Xerxes crossed into Europe. To symbolize Persian dominance over nature itself, he ordered bridges built across the Hellespont. When a storm destroyed them, Xerxes famously ordered the sea to be whipped and chained, a dramatic display of royal authority. Meanwhile, the Greek city-states faced a critical choice: unite or be destroyed. Many submitted to Persia, believing resistance was futile. Others formed a defensive alliance led by Sparta on land and Athens at sea. This alliance was fragile, marked by mistrust and rivalry, but necessity forced cooperation. The Persian army marched south through Greece and reached a narrow mountain pass called Thermopylae. There, a small Greek force led by King Leonidas of Sparta attempted to delay the Persian advance. For 2 days, the Greeks held the pass, using the terrain to neutralize Persian numbers. On the 3rd day, a Greek traitor revealed a hidden path to the Persians, allowing them to surround the defenders. Leonidas dismissed most of the Greek army and remained with a small force of Spartans and allies. They fought to the death. The stand at Thermopylae was a defeat, but it became a symbol of sacrifice and resistance, inspiring Greece to continue fighting. As the Persian army advanced, Athens was evacuated. Xerxes entered the city and burned it to the ground, destroying temples and monuments. It seemed that Persia had won, but the war was far from over. The Athenian leader Themistocles had placed his faith in the navy. He lured the Persian fleet into the narrow straits near Salamis, where Persian numbers became a disadvantage. In the chaos of close combat, Greek triremes rammed and destroyed Persian ships. Xerxes watched the destruction of his fleet from a nearby hill. The Battle of Salamis was decisive. Without naval superiority, Persia could not supply its army. Xerxes retreated to Asia, leaving a large force behind to complete the conquest of Greece. That force would face the combined Greek army the following year. The Persian withdrawal after Salamis did not mean the war was over. Xerxes returned to Asia, but he left behind a powerful army under his general Mardonius, determined to finish what Persia had begun. Mardonius believed that Greece could still be broken through a combination of force and diplomacy. He attempted to divide the Greek alliance, offering Athens favorable terms if it abandoned the war. Athens refused, choosing destruction over submission. In 479 BCE, the final land confrontation took place near the small town of Plataea in central Greece. The Persian army was large, experienced, and well supplied. Facing them was a coalition of Greek city-states led primarily by Sparta, with significant forces from Athens, Corinth, and others. Although the Greeks argued among themselves and delayed engagement, once battle was joined, the outcome was decisive. Greek hoplites, heavily armored and disciplined, proved superior in close combat. Mardonius was killed, Persian morale collapsed, and the army was routed. The Battle of Plataea marked the end of Persia's land invasion of Greece. Almost simultaneously, on the opposite side of the Aegean Sea, a Greek fleet attacked Persian forces at Mycale, near the coast of Asia Minor. There, Greek troops destroyed the remaining Persian naval base and encouraged Ionian Greeks to rebel once again. The Persian defeat at Mycale effectively ended Persian naval power in the Aegean and shattered their control over the Greek cities of Asia Minor. With these twin victories, the Greek-Persian Wars entered a new phase. Persia was no longer invading Greece. Instead, the Greeks went on the offensive. Athens, whose navy had been crucial to victory, emerged as the dominant maritime power. Under Athenian leadership, many Greek city-states formed an alliance known as the Delian League, originally intended to defend against future Persian aggression and liberate Greek cities still under Persian influence. Over the next decades, Greek forces pushed Persian authority out of the Aegean. Persian garrisons were expelled and Greek cities regained independence. Persia, facing internal challenges and vast distances, chose not to renew full-scale invasions of Greece. Eventually, a formal peace often referred to as the Peace of Callias was established, recognizing Greek autonomy in the Aegean region. The consequences of the Greek-Persian Wars were immense and long-lasting. For Greece, the wars reinforced the idea that free citizens defending their homeland could overcome even the greatest imperial power. In Athens, the victory strengthened democracy, increased confidence, and fueled a cultural golden age marked by philosophy, drama, architecture, and political thought. Figures like Pericles, Socrates, and later Plato and Aristotle emerged from a world shaped by these wars. At the same time, victory planted the seeds of future conflict. Athens transformed the Delian League into an empire, using its navy to control and tax allies. This growing Athenian power alarmed Sparta and other city-states, eventually leading to the Peloponnesian War, a devastating conflict that weakened Greece as a whole. For Persia, the wars were a setback but not a collapse. The empire remained vast and powerful for more than a century afterward. Yet the myth of Persian invincibility was shattered. The western frontier of the empire stabilized, and Persian kings increasingly relied on diplomacy and influence rather than direct conquest in Greek affairs. Beyond politics and warfare, the Greek-Persian Wars shaped how history itself would be remembered. Greek historians like Herodotus framed the conflict as a struggle between freedom and tyranny, between East and West, while modern scholars recognize the complexity and bias in these accounts. There is no doubt that the wars became a foundational narrative for Western civilization. The battles of Marathon, Thermopylae, Salamis, and Plataea echoed far beyond their time. They influenced military strategy, political ideology, and cultural identity for centuries. The survival of independent Greek city-states allowed the development of ideas that continued to shape the modern world: democracy, citizenship, historical inquiry, and philosophical debate. What began as a local rebellion on the fringes of a vast empire became one of the defining conflicts of human history. The Greek-Persian Wars were not merely about territory or power. They were about how societies chose to live, govern, and define freedom. In that sense, their legacy endures long after the clash of bronze and steel has faded into memory.